Hi, it's Pibble Pusher. I've been playing TTRPGs for 16 years now and using terrain and a GM kit for the last 3. So far, I've been using the first generation of the Magicrate, but today I got my hands on the newest model, and I'm going to compare them so you don't have to. These GM kits include a GM screen, initiative trackers, dice towers, dice boxes, mini storage, a dice tray / battle grid, health trackers, and the newest version also comes with a dice jail. Let's start with our most obvious difference, the DM screen. There are a few key differences here. On the first generation, they had this really cool dragon design, but it was inflexible, that's all you got. On the new version, they have these art panels, and you can get tons of different designs. Before we jump into that though, just check out this little bit of extra detail they put on the hinges. I just love those little pieces. If you dry brushed that with a nice light color, it would look so sick. The art panels on the new Magicrate stand a really nice balance of being secure, they won't fall out, but they're also really easy to pop off if you want to change them. There are dozens of different designs from lots of different artists, and there are ways to build your own as well. The panels pictured in this video were created by Stoner Advisory Art on Instagram, but there are dozens of designs from very talented artists, so you can always find something that matches your personal style or your campaign's vibe. Another major upgrade is the old GM screen was flat on the bottom. If you wanted to stick notes or something to it, you had to tape them in. They fixed that with Magicrate Reforged by putting in this diamond grid that allows you to attach all kinds of accessories. The first of these are little shelves that you can put minis on, use as little staging areas for your combats, that sort of thing, extra dice, whatever you want. They snap in relatively easily, and they're pretty secure. You can't put anything hugely heavy, but again, for minis, it'll work great. My favorite add-on to the GM screen are these little diamond magnets. So you just push them into any one of the diamonds. Then you get a second one and you can magnetize notes or stat blocks or whatever you need to the inside of your GM screen, which is super handy and very versatile. Here's an example of the accessories in place. Next up is the initiative trackers. We've got the old one on the right and the new one on the left. They're stylistically a bit different, but there are a couple of really nice quality of life changes as well. So the idea behind these is that you write down whatever your monster is, you pop it into the slit at the top, and then they actually slot nicely into the top of the DM screen so that you can have them displayed for yourself or your players to see. These work pretty good, but with the older generation, I found they were a bit loose. If the paper got knocked, it would sometimes fall out, and they just felt a little insecure on the top of the screen. The good people at Magicrate probably felt the same because they've made changes. They've almost put a paperclip-esque bend in the paper slot, so it's easy to put the paper in, but it's very secure once it's there. The fit on the GM screen has also been a little bit improved, so it's a bit more stable and steady. I also really appreciate that they made this kit backwards compatible, so if you had a Magicrate 1, your status effect, initiative, slide over things will still fit the new trackers, and if you had boss token initiative trackers, those also fit over the new screens, so it's awesome that way. So let's look at the dice towers next. We've got the older ones on the left in brown and the newer ones on the right in red. As you can see, they've elevated the design, it's a bit more subtle, but the changes aren't just aesthetic. These dice towers all have a slit in the back, and this is designed to fit over top of your dice tower so you can have it facing yourself or your players without taking up valuable space on your table. The older ones were a little bit looser and a little bit more top heavy, which made the screens slightly less stable. I really like how they fixed this with the new one. They added almost like a bit of a curve to the slot so that when it fits over, it's very snug. And the tower itself is lighter as well, so that it's much more stable on the screen. There's also a bit of a window on the back of the new ones, I assume so the party can see the dice rolling and know their doom is incoming. My absolute favorite change that they made to Magicrate is in the dice boxes. So you've got the older one on the left, the newer one on the right, and it is night and day. So with the old ones, there were quite a few little problems with them. I found they didn't fit very snugly. They almost wanted to fall open. I would never try to transfer them in a bag or something with these boxes. You also only have space for one set of dice, and if you have particularly large dice, then the lid really won't close. They're very pretty, but not as functional as you want. The new ones are very snug, very secure. They have little indents to help you open them, but I do recommend opening and closing them a few times so they can sort of loosen up. They were very snug, but you can see you can fit way more inside. So I've plopped in some mechanical pencils, so 2 sets of dice, less 1 die, my extra condition trackers for the initiative keeper things, a large eraser, and more of those diamond magnets that fit in the back of the gem screen. If you prefer a good old number 2 pencil, you will find they're a little long for this case, but if you sharpen it a couple times, I'm sure it'll fit great. It does fit several mechanical pencils though, enough for a whole party. Lastly, there are magnets that help it close and stay closed. Both the old and new Magicrate have 2 sizes of miniature storage. The original Magicrate had a taller 4-drawer unit, and within each drawer there were dividers. You could subdivide it into as many cubes as you wanted, up to 4, and each one was nicely sized for a 1x1 mini. The second type of drawer were these larger units. They weren't subdivided, but they were perfect if you had larger terrain or large minis that you wanted out of sight from your players, but ready to put on the table. I ended up using mine for general scattered terrain that I would use frequently. The drawers work great. I did find that if the table gets jostled much, they do slide out of their housing, but generally they worked quite well. The only other thing that I only bring up because it's changed between old and new is that the plastic on the original Magicrate was just a little bit thinner, so it didn't have as much of a luxurious feeling. Cue Magicrate Reforged. Now, the new drawers are much more stable. You can see I have to shake it around quite a bit and tip it forward before it even starts coming out. That isn't to say that it's hard to slide the drawers. They actually slide really nicely. They almost have like a soft close feeling to them. Everything about this set also just feels a lot more solid and luxurious when compared to their predecessor. I also like that they've added these smoothed oval sections where you could write a label or even stick a sticker label. As you can see on the original set, they had raised texture, so you couldn't really give yourself any indication of what you kept inside to help keep you organized. The plastic's also much sturdier, and generally it feels luxurious, which is kind of a nice touch. The larger boxes, the main difference is that rather than opening forward and pushing everything on the table or in your DM section around, it opens from the top, and that gives you almost like additional staging areas for your minis too, which is a nice change. The base of both GM kits is a dice tray. They're pretty similar. As you can see, the lip on the old one's a little taller. This will only matter if your players are truly unhinged when they roll dice. The new one should work fine. I also really like the stylistic details they've added. Just again, they elevate it a little bit. And on the back of both dice trays are 1x1 grids. Not a whole lot of difference on these ones. The finish is matte instead of shiny. It is what it is. You can use it as an emergency dungeon room or whatever you need. Just a handy extra little piece of kit. The lids, on the other hand, were actually health trackers, and I thought this was a huge improvement from old to new. With the old one, as you can see, we have spaces for 3 different monsters, and we had a place for the 10s and the singles on health, but if your monster had more than 100 health, you were kind of in the lurch. It came with some little plastic doodads that you could slot in and use to mark your villain's health. I found that they would sometimes get stuck and break, so I didn't make a lot of use of this feature. The new health tracker is miles better. So first off, the back is gorgeous, or the lid, I suppose, is gorgeous. But then it's way higher contrast, way easier to read, which is such a simple quality of life fix. They've also got these hundreds places, so you can put a D6 there if your enemy has more than 100 health. Then you have a dial for the 10s place and the 1s place, so you can set up to 6 enemies' HP. These slide beautifully. There's no catch. I'm not worried about breaking. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Great improvement. The Reforged Magicrate also has a new accessory, and it is a dice jail for when you have particularly unlucky dice. So these actually fit in with the diamond grid on the back of your GM screen. They just pop right in. And then when your dice misbehaves, you can pop it into its little cage of shame and either shame it privately where you can see it, or you can spin it around so your players know which dice has betrayed you. It's a silly, fun little addition. And of course, with so many accessories, everyone worries a little bit about storage, but they've made the whole system modular. If you make good use of the included storage, it all fits very nicely inside the DM screen, and you get this very presentable little cube that looks wonderful on any shelf. I've always loved Magicrate, but I'm really excited about this new version. If you want to get your hands on your own, their Kickstarter is linked in the description. Thank you for supporting these awesome creators, and if you like this video, let me know in the comments. Until next time.